Hi guys, Moon Fiction here. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to like and subscribe. Now no more wasting time. Let's start. What if Deku had stayed quirkless? Part 1. This is a superhuman society, where 80% of the population possesses some uncanny ability called a quirk. Society fell into chaos amongst the rise of these new abilities, which changed the concept of what it meant to even be human. We call those who use their quirks for the sake of peace and order heroes. My name is Izuku Midoriya, and it's always been my dream to be a hero. Unfortunately for me, I fall into the 20% known as quirkless. However, I didn't let that stop me from reaching my dream. I became a hero, one that changed the world, society, and the concept of the word. This is the story of how I became the one true hero. An adorable little cinnamon roll of a 5-year boy sits in a chair in front of a computer as he excitedly waits for his mother to play his favorite video. It was the debut of the greatest hero in the world, All Might, saving dozens of injured civilians from a massive fire. Ha 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 ha, fear not citizens, hope has arrived, because I am here. All Might is the coolest in the universe. And excited Izuku shouted. I'm gonna be a hero, just like All Might, when I get my quirk, no matter what it is. Sorry, kid, it's not gonna happen, says Dr. Ujiko quite bluntly. Are you sure? Says Izuku's stunned mother Inko. Ujiko goes on to explain the various tests done on Izuku as well as the physical indicators that tell whether someone has a quirk or not. Izuku's x-rays showing that he has a double-jointed pinky toe, meaning he's in the 20% of today's population, and that it's very unlikely that he will ever manifest a quirk. Inko, upon taking in this news, can only look down at her son, whose face, while smiling, was in complete and utter shock. She could only imagine the feelings going through him at the moment. After thanking the doctor for his time, she and Izuku head home, the latter of whom remained quiet as a mouse. The Midoriya residence that night. Inko was still having a hard time processing the events of today. His son was quirkless, his life would be very hard, and she knew it. Her little Izuku was so happy before the doctor's visit. He had hardly said 2 words at dinner, and just the sadness in his eyes was unbearable to her. She called her husband in America and told him he promised that he would be home to visit in 2 weeks and that they will get through this as a family. Izuku, while typically loving phone calls with his dad where Hisashi would tell him about various American heroes he had seen talk down villains, and Izuku would tell him about his day, but mostly talk about All Might. But today was not one of those days. Inko sees a light coming from Izuku's room, and she goes in, seeing her son watching his favorite video. He's smiling, Mom, said a tearful Izuku as he faced his mother. He's always smiling no matter how bad things get. Do you think I can be a hero too? The question carrying clear desperation. Inko could just stand there, taking a moment to ponder her next words. Her son's entire world was crumbling. He would never have the power of a quirk. Could he realistically save people with a smile and do the right thing by others as she's begun teaching him? Could he? She was his mother, and more than anything she only wants to protect him. But the world he wants to enter is very dangerous, even more so for people like him. Having gathered herself, she answers her son. Yes. Yes, you can, Izuku. Her own stream of tears falling now. But you're quirkless, so it's going to be very, very, very hard for you. If it's what you want, then you have to promise me you'll work really, really hard so that I won't worry about you. Her words also carry a hint of desperation. Izuku, taking in his mother's words and turning back to the paused screen of All Might's smiling face. She believed in him, his mother believed in him. He might not ever have a cool quirk like Kakan, but he was going to work harder than anyone to make up for it. He was going to be a hero, just like his idol. He was going to save people and make them feel safe in the same way he did. Mom, I promise I'll work hard so that you don't have to worry about me, Izuku said with new determination. I'll save people with a fearless smile, just like All Might, and I'll always treat people good and do the right thing. Inko wasn't expecting that last sentence, but she remembered Hisashi saying almost those exact words on their last video chat. Flashback. Izuku sits in Inko's lap as she prepares a video chat with Hisashi, who should just be getting off work. Hisashi's face appears on the screen. Hey love, what's up mini man? Hey honey. Hi dad. So how are things going on the whole home front? Hisashi asked. We're doing pretty fine over here, wishing you were here though, said Inko. You know I'll be home before you know it, love, Hisashi charmed. Hey dad, what kind of quirk do you think I'll have? Probably a combo of me and your mom's. Why? Inko sighed. He's actually the only kid in his class who hasn't manifested a quirk yet. Hayashi smiled. Izuku, what does a hero do? Izuku took no time to think about his father's words and simply blurted, a hero saves people, dad. Hisashi, happy to hear his answer, continued, that's right, but why? Izuku took a second to ponder this question, but all he could come up with was because that's what a hero does. He said almost sheepishly, as if this question had a right answer. Izuku, a hero is someone who does the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Regardless of whatever quirk you have or what you'll gain, if you treat people kindly and always try to do the right thing, you can call yourself a hero. And flashback. Inko and Izuku remain in his room holding each other in a warm embrace, unsure of what's to come, but prepared to face it together. 2 years later on a playground. Stop, you're making him cry, Kakan. If you don't stop, I'll stop you myself, Izuku said, standing his ground despite being visibly scared. A sinister grin slowly spreads across the face of an explosive ash blonde boy, Quirkless Deku, still trying to play hero. His lackeys behind him also smiling while activating their quirks. One extends his fingers, while the other sprouts bat-like wings from his back, floating about a meter off the ground. The blonde-haired boy slams his fist into his palm, causing a small explosion. What did he even do, Kakan? Asked Izuku, wanting to avoid violence. He took the last melon soda at lunch, so I'm gonna kick his ass for it, Bakugo states with complete seriousness. I'm not gonna let you hurt him over something so petty. Just walk away, Kakan, it's not that serious. So now you think you're better than me? Bakugo roared. I didn't say that, you just can't hurt people for petty reasons. They all lunged at the greenette. Izuku, having a hobby of studying quirks as well, having been on the receiving end of Kakan's explosions for years, grabs his right arm, pulls him over his shoulder and slams him. With the wind taken out of Kakan for the moment, Izuku reacts just in time to see long fingers trying to grab him. He sidesteps and jumps back faster than the kid expected, because in the next moment, he's sent flying back from a kick to the gut. Izuku then looks up for the winged kid, but he's floating about 10 feet up, clearly second-guessing coming down to fight Izuku. The kid looks just past him, and Izuku turns around to Kakan coming at him. He just barely puts his guard up to block the explosion. Izuku is sent back from the shockwave of the blast. You got a lot of nerve, throwing me like that, Deku the blonde said with venom. If I'm gonna be a hero, I can't let someone get hurt when I can help them, said Izuku, trying to hold on to his little confidence. It doesn't matter if you help, because you'll never beat me, you quirkless loser. yelled the explosive boy as his hands began to spark. They rush each other. Aftermath. Izuku lays on the ground covered in burns and tattered clothes. He lost, but he didn't give up, he just needed to work harder. For the past 2 years since his quirkless diagnosis, Izuku had spent much time searching the internet for various self-defense techniques as well as strength training exercises. With all that he's taught himself, he did fine today despite his injuries, coupled that with the numerous bruises and busted lip on Kaken, and this was a victory in its own way. The kid he saved even thanked him and helped him up. He made his way home, and when Inko saw him, unsurprisingly she wasn't happy. But upon hearing he got these injuries, protecting someone else from Katsuki, she was more proud of her little hero. She had actually been waiting for him to come home for a while now because she had a surprise for him. Izuku, guess what? I finally found a place where you can study martial arts. Yeah. I've been teaching myself, but I finally get to learn from a real master. Where is it? What kind of dojo is it? Slow down, first off it's called the Rising Sky Dojo, and there are several martial arts disciplines you can learn there. Inko said, excited for her son to begin learning. I was going to take you there now to meet with the masters, but with you looking like this. No. Now. Let's go now. Izuku yelled more out of excitement than anger. Okay, just throw on some clean clothes, and we'll go ok. Inko relented. After changing and a 20-minute car drive to the more wooded area of the city, they arrive at a set of large, wooden double doors with Rising Sky marked on a plaque at the top, surrounded by large walls that seemed to cover the whole block. Upon entering, they took note of the very wide courtyard, and in that same courtyard, in front of a relatively nice classic Japanese home, were about a dozen people dressed in white gis, all performing the same series of punches and kicks, while a tall man with black hair, also wearing a white gi, watched them. While admiring the skills, Izuku continues to follow his mother as they walk to a building that actually looks like a dojo on the other side of the courtyard. Before even entering, they can already hear the sounds of os. Entering the room, they see over a dozen students, all wearing gis, facing a brown-haired woman. She had a beautiful face with wavy brown hair that went just past her shoulders and purple eyes. She wore the same color gi as the rest of her students. She was taller than Inko, and you could tell she had a well-defined, curvy, mature body, made evident from the bandages seen just below her exposed cleavage. Alright kiddies, today was a good day from everyone, and remember, progress and effort is between you and you. I'll see you all Wednesday. The lady sensei dismisses her students. Taking a closer look at the students gathering their things to leave, Inko saw that most of the kids in this group were at least 2 years older than Izuku. After the students had gathered their things and left after asking their sensei any final questions, she was finally able to speak with Inko and Izuku. Welcome back, Mrs. Midoriya, and this is Izuku, I presume, she said, welcoming them with a smile. Hello again, Tabihara, and yes, this is my son Izuku. Hello, my name is Izuku Midoriya. The boy bows to the sensei in front of him. Hello, little one, my name is Michiko Tabihara, and I'm one of the 2 master here. I spoke with your mother earlier, and she told me you want to be a hero? Yeah. I love heroes, and I wanna be one someday. I wanna save people with a smile, just like All Might. But, he sighs, I'm quirkless. People tell me I'm stupid for wanting to be a hero, that you can't be one without a quirk. They call me a useless Deku, just for trying. His fists clench. But my mom said she believed in me. I know I can do it, just give me a chance, and I promise I won't let you down. He exclaimed, just wanting a chance. Michiko took a deep long look into this boy's eyes. Such determination, she thought. Even amongst her older students, not many are able to just throw their heart out like this. The look in those emerald green eyes is all Tabihara needed to make her decision. Izuku, I'm gonna be straight with you, it's not very logical for someone without a quirk to want to be a hero. There are villains in this world with some truly terrifying powers. Someone like you having just your brains and physical abilities to rely on will only get so far. To be the kind of hero you said you want to be will require you to face those types of villain, and that in itself is akin to suicide. A quirkless hero definitely sounds impossible, she said as she closes her eyes as she bends her head with her arms crossed. Izuku grabs his shirt and lowers his head. She then opens her eyes and smiles. That is unless you trained here. Izuku opens his fighting back tears of joy, his mother smiling down at him. You have a look in your eyes that I like. A quirkless hero, I've already trained 2 pros. What's the harm in one more? Izuku, so caught up his joy of being accepted, almost missed that last line. Wait. You've trained heroes. His hero nerd mode fully activated. Yes, both the rabbit hero, Mirko, and dragoon hero, Ryukyu, were both students of mine, and Kamui Woods was my brother's student, she stated casually. A giddy Izuku made a mental note to add this info to his hero notebook later. So now that you're officially a disciple of Rising Sky, it's time you settled on a material arts discipline. The masters of this dojo are my brother and myself, and we have several different martial arts styles we teach, those being karate, taekwondo, kung fu, muay thai, judo, Japanese jiu-jitsu, kenjutsu and boijutsu, and between you and me, I'm easily the best at the last 2. Izuku had actually heard of some of these styles while he was teaching himself, but now he had actual masters to teach him. He wanted to be a hero, and he had worked his butt off to make it happen. Can I take more than one? Yes, you can, but some of these styles run after each other on certain days, so you'll have to keep your mind flexible. To the shock of the 2 women in the room, Izuku decided on not just 2, when he said more than 1, but practically all of them. Choosing to learn karate, taekwondo, Wing Chun, Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu, this threw Inko for a loop when she considered how much these classes were going to cost, but Michiko assured since Izuku was so willing to learn and that the dojo does quite well and that she and her brother also run a medical clinic that does very well, Izuku can take all these classes for the price of 2, and Inko relaxed. After telling the Greenettes that Izuku can start learning as soon as tomorrow if he wants, and handing her a schedule listing all the styles taught on each day of the week from who teaches it, be it Michiko or her brother Kizo, the times they start to their respective age groups. Seeing how tomorrow is Tuesday, Izuku would begin learning Wing Chun. The Midoriyas say goodbye, looking forward to seeing more of Tabihara-sensei. As they exit the dojo and cross the empty courtyard, they are approached by the same man who was observing the students before. Upon a closer look, they could see this man was tall, handsome, with a muscular build. He had the same purple eyes as Michiko, but his hair was black, ended at the shoulder with some tied in the back. He had unshaven stubble on his face and quite bushy eyebrows. "Hello there." The man waved as he approached, flashing a warm, radiant, very welcoming smile. The Greenettes exchanged hellos to the other master of the dojo. "My name is Kizo Tabihara. I figured I'd come say hi to our newest disciple." He drops to the boy's level and extends a hand. "Are you looking forward to your training, young man?" "Yeah, I'm really excited to start tomorrow," Izuku said ecstatically. "Tomorrow, huh? So you'll be learning kung fu from me?" I'm sure my sister already mentioned it, but just know that this is a tough dojo. Here we ask that you give it your all. Can you do that? Yes, sensei. I promise to go plus ultra every single day. That's what I like to hear. Kizo said with a smile, I'll see you tomorrow, young one. The two take their leave, and as they pass the large doors at the entrance, Izuku turns back around to look at the sign at the top. Rising Sky. Things had become so different since he was diagnosed as Quirkless. It was nice to know that he had his mom in his corner, but to know that he had a teacher who also believed in him. It just made him feel so warm inside from being accepted and acknowledged. But starting tomorrow he would take the first step of reaching his dream. He would be a hero and save people anywhere, anytime, from anyone. This is my start. A smile stretches across his face. Time skip 2 years later. Izuku and another boy 2 years his seniors stand apart from each other in the middle of the dojo, while others watch on from the side of the room. Both boys are wearing gloves and protective headgear. They eye each other, as both assume a taekwondo stance. The older boy itches forward before going for several front kicks. Izuku steps back just enough to avoid them. Stepping forward again, pivoting on his right leg, Izuku spins with his left foot connecting with the older boy's gut. His opponent stumbles back, but he doesn't fall. Centering themselves again, this time Izuku made the first move. Going for a kick to his opponent's left leg, which he connects, following that to a side kick to his right side that also hits, but before he can recover he gets a front kick to the chest followed by a back kick that he just barely blocks that sends him to the ground. "You ok, Izuku?" asked his sensei Michiko Tabihara. "Yeah, I'm fine, sensei." After getting back up and focusing, Izuku looks for any weaknesses to exploit in his older, stronger, and more experienced opponent. He decides to take a gamble and comes up with a plan, but it requires exact timing. The older boy rushes Izuku with a series of front kicks, with Izuku dodging, blocking, and countering with several of his own. Getting the distance he needed when his opponent's last left kick missed. After bringing his leg back, Izuku connects with a roundhouse kick to his left side. His opponent stunned yet undeterred to stop the fight, he switches his footing, bringing his right foot forward. This was the moment Izuku had been waiting for. The older boy, as he expected, was about to do a high kick. Before he could even lift his leg, Izuku had gone into a spin, his left foot connecting with the older boy's face. He goes down, and Tabihara sensei goes to check on him. Ryuichi, are you ok?" she asked, concerned for her student. The brown-haired boy gets up, his head still shaking after that one, but otherwise ok. Izuku even goes over, extending a hand to the boy to help him up, which he accepts, at the moment ignoring the frustration that he lost to someone younger than him. The two bow, thanking each other for the spar, and head back to the rest of the class. "Okay, my little piggies, that'll do for today. Take what you've learned from your individual spars, as well as those of your sibling students. Always remember it's important to keep your tool sharp. No matter how good you are, there is always room for improvement. And as for the sparring, keep in mind iron sharpens iron, and the same is true here." "Boss," says the whole class. The students of Taekwondo had gathered their things and prepared to leave for the day, but there was usually one who always stayed behind, going to the outdoor training area at the far end of the courtyard to practice everything he had learned that day for nearly 2 hours after the others left. This is something Izuku Midoriya had done practically every day since he became a disciple. Taking every moment he can to drill the lessons, forms, moves, and philosophies of the numerous martial arts he was learning. Not a single day went by that he didn't do any martial arts training. Many of the disciplines ran back to back, usually twice a week. Monday and Wednesday were karate for an hour and then taekwondo. Tuesday and Thursday were all kung fu. Wednesday and Friday he trained in Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. Saturdays he would come to the dojo to train alone, and just use the equipment, sometimes in the training hall dubbed the Bone Breaking Factory. It's a building on the east side of the compound. It's full of machines, obstacles, and contraptions specifically designed to train the body in the most intense ways imaginable. Sunday he would go to his personal training spot in the woods by a flowing river. There he could spend all day, practicing his martial arts and meditating. Just the serenity and seclusion of this area made it really easy to focus and calm his mind. Or he would go to the outdoor training area that was right down from the dojo, where there were wooden posts to pull up bars for various strength training exercises. Sometimes his two senseis would be sadists and make him run insane laps through the large forested area behind the property. Izuku was actually surprised to see how much land there was out here. The entrance and the courtyard, though wide, didn't show how big this place is. The main house is the large two-floor, traditional Japanese home he first saw when he came here. That's where his masters live. Right behind that is a dormitory house for any guest and students. It has showers and 20 bedrooms. During the summer break, students have the option of living at the dojo where they live, eat, breathe, and sleep martial arts. Izuku had been one of those for the past 2 summers, and it was always an unforgettable experience despite the brutal training. The actual dojo is on the west side, and it's where he does most of his training. It's a traditional-looking building, with a wide, flat interior with tatami mats. The names of various students who have completed their training in a discipline are on the wall. The 3 that stand out are Shinji Nishiya, Rumi Usajiyama, and Ryuko Tatsuma. There's also an office in the back where the masters handle business. On the east side of the property there is a large forested area that goes for miles. There's actually a river and a natural hot spring that he and some of the other students would sneak off to when they were living at the dojo in the summer. When Izuku made it to the training area, he immediately went into a karate stance and began to practice his moves. Taking everything he's learned so far on top of what he learned today and incorporating it into every strike and repeat it. 40 minutes later he switched to taekwondo and repeated the same process. In these moments, when it was just him and his effort, he couldn't help but feel he gets a little stronger every time. His life has changed so much since he came here, every single day working towards his goal of being a hero. He knows full well he's nowhere near where he needs to be, but he will never stop working in the pursuit of this goal. 1 year later. After 3 years of training and now 10-year-old Izuku's skills are coming through sharply. His reflexes, technique, senses, and overall power are far beyond that of a normal 10-year-old, his lean, muscular body being a clear indicator for that. He was by far the strongest student of his age at the dojo. It's gotten to the point that Izuku can only spar against those 2 to 3 years older than him in order to benefit from fighting another person. Now that he's 10 and quite physically developed, his masters decided to amp up his training. With his dedication, eagerness, and willingness to learn and constantly get better and stronger, not for his sake but to be the hero he wants to be, it's no surprise he became their #1 disciple. Michiko had decided to teach him some long-forgotten techniques to increase your speed. Apparently, with enough training, you can move at supersonic speeds just by kicking yourself hard enough off the ground, and it was a technique she learned from a ninja when she was young. Kizo was more focused on improving his overall agility and dexterity. From doing acrobatics akin to monkey-style kung fu to many hours of training on the Wing Chun, spinning dummies in the bone-breaking hall. The pain and soreness of every day was something he had gotten used to, but with this new training it's taking some time to adjust, but he was happy nonetheless. Izuku? His mother asked. Yes, Mom. How have things been at school? Fine, I got another A on my test today. I'm actually at the top of my class according to my teacher. Well, that's actually what I wanted to talk to you about. How would you feel about taking advanced courses? I'm not against it, but it depends on what the classes are. I'm perfectly fine staying on the normal track, but if the classes aren't beneficial to me being a hero, I'm not interested. By the way, I wanted to start a new morning routine before school. Nothing too intense, just something to wake me up quicker and get me ready for school. Don't you think you're maybe overdoing it a little? I support you fully, but don't you think you're pushing your body too hard? You did say the masters stepped up your training. Inko asked, slightly concerned. It's a warm-up compared to what the masters have me do. He said, holding back a laugh. It's only 100 push-ups, sit-ups, squats and a 10-kilometer run. I'll add more to it over time, but this is just a warm-up. Just don't push it too hard, Ak. I won't, Mom. He says with a smile. It's been a full year since Izuku's new training with the masters on top of his morning routine, and in the beginning it was complete agony. He had his usual training in his disciplines twice a week, spent over an hour practicing and refining what he learned after each lesson, and then he had training with the masters. He had grasped the basics of Michiko's super speed technique pretty quickly. Now it was just about making his legs strong enough, which was easier said than done. She hit him with various leg strengthening exercises, as well as exercises to increase his perception, because according to her, what's the point of being fast if you can't see where or how fast you're going? With all the speed in the world, you're still a slowpoke if your brain can't keep up. It was brutal work, but the results of his effort were taking shape. His training with Kizo was also coming along well. At the start, after training with Michiko, the last thing he wanted to do was a bunch of jumping and acrobatics, but he had to admit it was pretty fun. Something else he also enjoyed was the dummy mob. It was a dozen or so spinning Wing Chun practice dummies lined up beside and behind each other, with a space between each two just wide enough for a person to get through. The key is to hit, block, and counter the dummies to make it through the other side, without getting pummeled, hit in the nuts, or losing a tooth, the latter almost happening on more than one occasion, and he's taken his fair share of nut shots because a countering kick was too slow. Regardless of the pain, after each and every day, Izuku embraces every second of it, never once complaining and looking forward to the next day with a smile. Izuku Midoriya, now 11 years old, had come a very long way in the 4 years he had been training at Rising Sky. While not a black belt in any of his disciplines, he was more than able to hold his own against students who were, and even beat them. He's been on quite the roll as of late, as he hasn't lost a spar in over a year, and it's even more impressive, considering he only fights those 2 to 3 years older than him. In every discipline he studied, by now he was the most skilled person in each class, and everyone knew it. The Quirkless boy has defeated so many of his senpai that many of them grew a new respect for him. Some of them admittedly laughed when he told them we wanted to be a hero. But after facing him, many of them realized he just may be able to do it. This was the general thought of most of those who knew of his condition, but there was one who definitely didn't share that sentiment. It's Wednesday in Michiko Tabihara's karate class. Izuku and another boy, Akaza Soyama, age 14, take stances. Akaza is a muscular boy with short pink hair that's fluffed out with yellow eyes. The two eye the other for a good 5 seconds before slowly itching towards each other. Akaza made the first move, throwing a series of punches, which Izuku skillfully dodged before retaliating with some of his own. One of his punches connects with the older boy's lower chin, Akaza throws a right punch in retaliation. Izuku dodges, grabbing his wrist, pulling himself to his side, then landing 3 hard blows to his side before getting behind him, finishing it with a kick to his lower back, sending him to the ground. Akaza gets back up, frustration clearly on his face. They start up again. Akaza charges at Izuku, throwing more punches. Izuku blocks and counters most of them, but several connect with his face and shoulder. He jumps back in time to avoid a kick. Akaza's punches are strong, but he shakes it off. Izuku strikes back as his opponent comes with more punches, which he skillfully blocks, using this to create an opening. Izuku gets close enough to land 7 fast, heavy punches to Akaza's lower body, blocking his right counter with his left hand. Izuku gives one final chop to his right side, then jumps back to avoid the left fist coming at him. Akaza, clearly in a lot of pain, after that one refused to back down, and the murderous look he shot Izuku didn't go unnoticed by their master. They ready themselves again. This time Izuku made the first move. He opened up with several punches and chops that Akaza dodges or blocks. Izuku speeds up his attacks, and several find their mark from his opponent's face, to his chest, to his ribs. Akaza tries to counter with a left punch, but Izuku swats his hand down with his right, and with that same hand strikes his chin with his wrist. With him stunned, Izuku hits him with a back kick to the gut, sending him to the ground. Akaza starts coughing on the ground while Izuku remained in his stance, prepared for him to get back up, but he didn't, and Tabihara-sensei called the match. Alright everyone, just as always keep in mind that your effort is your own. What you put in is what you get back. Like all activities, you need a level of natural ability, but... She pauses, looking right at Akaza. That's not all that matters. Continue to train and work hard, and don't be afraid to help each other. OS was the collective of the entire class. Upon the dismissal of the class, Tabihara-sensei needed to have a good chat with one of her more hot-headed students. It wasn't the first time she had seen that look on his face when it looked like he was going to lose a fight. There are certain standards here. At Rising Sky, there is a certain character that the martial artists the dojo produced had to have. There are essentially 2 types of martial artists in this world: the type that stays calm in a fight, who rely on talent and training, and those who lose control and forget all their training in their rage. These types are called Ashura. They pursue strength merely to be strong and to destroy their enemies by any means. Though she's always known that Akaza was a hothead, he's always been one of her top karate students for years. Honestly, he was her best, until Izuku's progress over the past year. Catching up to the pinkette. Yo Akaza, let's have a little chat. About what? The boy asked, annoyed. Oh, I'm pretty sure you know exactly what this is about. She responded, not caring for his attitude. They go to the office in the back and close the door. The master sits behind a computer while the kid sits in a chair. So you want to tell me what that look from earlier was about? You know, the one you gave Izuku like you wanted to tear his head off? She said with false sarcasm. It's nothing, I was just mad. Really, was it just about losing a fight? She asked, curious about his answer. The boy took a second to ponder his words. After a moment he continued. I just don't get why we are not allowed to use our quirks when we fight. I mean, we're training to defend ourselves in real-life situations. We would almost certainly use our quirks. Especially for those of us with physical, flashy quirks. So basically what you're saying is you wouldn't have lost to Izuku if you were allowed to use your quirk. His eyes visibly darkened at the mention of the quirkless prodigy. It has nothing to do with him. I just feel I can't fight to the best of my ability without my quirk. Well, there's nothing wrong with wanting to incorporate your quirk with your fighting style, but do that on your own time. Martial arts and quirks are both tools, and a tool can be strong or weak depending on the user. You can't say I'm not strong enough because I can't use my quirk if you're also going to neglect training. You just don't get it," he said, frustration in his voice. "What do you want? Just what exactly do you want to do with the strength you've gained?" she asked, her purple eyes piercing into his soul. "I want to be strong, the strongest in Japan. I want to be able to live how I want and do what I want. That's how the world works," he said, his gaze never breaking hers. "Are we done? I do have other things to do today," he said, clearly annoyed. "Yeah, we're done, you can go," she said, almost sad. After Akaza left, Michiko could only look back on the past 5 years he's been her student. He was a rough kid who came in every day as if he had something to prove. He loved to train, but he loved sparring matches even more, especially when a win was earned, and he utterly despised losing, still does. He was always rough around the edges, but she didn't really notice his change until a year ago. Thinking back on it, there was a shift in him the first time he lost to Izuku. Izuku was doing some light training, hitting a wooden post, keeping his body warm for his taekwondo class in a half hour. He felt a presence on him. Upon turning to his right, he saw Akaza Soyama walking towards him. "Hey Midoriya, getting in some extra work?" "No, I'm just keeping my body warm until it's time for my next class," Izuku said, honestly shocked he had come talk to him. "You study more than one discipline?" he asked curiously. "Yes, several. I joined the dojo in order to get the strength, skills, and training to be a hero." This is the end of part 1. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. If you want, of course. I can't force you even if I wanted. Anyone have a nice day, I guess. Bye bye.